Hello friends, welcome back to Heartscapes, where we are learning the system of Reiki at the intersection of self-reflection, spiritual practice, and social action. My name is Michaela. Welcome back to Heartscape Studio. This video is the fourth in a series of Ask Me Anything videos, responding to questions I often get about the 5 elements of the system of Reiki. Why are there 5 elements? What are they? I've only heard of hands-on healing. What are the other elements? So we're walking through those 5 elements with this series. If you have any questions for me that have come up from any other video that you've watched or just in your life generally that you want to ask about the system of Reiki, you can drop them down in the comments of any of my videos. You use the hashtag AskHeartscapes. That will help me find them. But either way, I'll do my best to collect them and answer them in a future video. All right. So we have talked about the spiritual framework that holds these 5 elements of the system. We've talked about the first element, which is the precepts, and the fact that the whole rest of the system is designed to help us live as an embodiment of these precepts. We've talked about the next element, kokyoho, breath practice, that helps us to focus our mind on what matters so that we can better embody the precepts in our daily life. And today we're going to talk about the third element of the system, which is symbols and mantras. Now, symbols and mantras are present in most iterations of the system of Reiki. And there are many Western forms of Reiki. I talked a bit about that in the first video in this series, and why historically there is an original Japanese form, and then there's Western forms that have changed and gotten farther and further away from that original. And in the perspective of symbols and mantras, we see some of the biggest changes, primarily in terms of how it is understood, how the symbols and mantras are understood, what their function is understood to be, how we engage them in our practice, what their purpose is. So I'm going to do my best to kind of contextualize the symbols and mantras from the perspective of the original practice. And if you have any questions about that, please do drop them below. We can dig into it a little deeper if there is interest. So, symbols and mantras. These are tools, practices that are generally introduced, at least the symbols are, starting in the 2nd degree of the system of Reiki. And so you've worked with the precepts, you've worked with some of the historical spiritual context, you've worked with the kokyoho breathing practices, you might have learned some hands-on techniques in your Reiki 1 class, and then in Reiki 2, we have the introduction of symbols and mantras. Now, we do work with mantra in Reiki 1, specifically the mantra of the precepts. And in that video talking about the precepts, I shared a recitation of the precepts in Japanese, and using that recitation as a mantra, as a tool to focus our mind, as to feel the vibration of those words in our body, is an important practice from Reiki 1. In Reiki 2, we are introduced to 3 symbols and 3 associated mantras. And I say it that way specifically because in the case of the first 2 of them, the symbol and the mantra are 2 separate things. This is one of the first points of miscommunication or misunderstanding often, is that the mantra is often seen as the name of the symbol, but they're actually 2 separate things, a symbol and a mantra, that are working together like colleagues, like partners, to help us bring about the same effect. The third symbol and mantra, the symbol is not so much a symbol in the way that we often think of symbols as an abstract image that we then ascribe meaning to, but it's actually a sentence written in Japanese kanji. It's a contracted sentence, meaning the different kanji symbols that are used to represent the words are overlaid with each other in ways that kind of contract the sentence into a shorter version. It's hard to read as a sentence in kanji if one doesn't know, but I've asked people who are fluent in reading Japanese if they can read it, the symbol, and they can often pull quite a bit of meaning from this contraction. But in that case, the mantra and the symbol are one and the same because the mantra is simply the words that sentence says. So what is the purpose of these mantras and symbols inside of the system of Reiki? I'm not going to go into detail about the specifics of each one, but more about the purpose of them as an element inside of the system, how we are meant to use them, how we're meant to understand them. So essentially, the symbols and mantras serve the same function as the kokyoho, as the breathing methods, and that is to help focus our mind. I said before in the last video that all of the elements in the system, really, truly, are designed to help us train our mind to come back in from all of the distracted places that it gets pulled into all the time and focus on this present moment, to focus on our direct experience in this moment, to focus on the energy that we're wanting to bring in, for example, groundedness. So we talked in the last video about Joshin Kokyoho, a method to focus the mind, specifically focusing our attention into our low belly and the way that that brings a sense of groundedness, that helps us build a sense of a strong foundation, that we can actually feel like we're a more supported, grounded, stable person as we move through our life and make decisions and respond to challenges. That is the first stop. That is the first point in our map of our energy system, of our body. And it's the most important, particularly for a very cerebral culture as the one that we live in, where we put a lot of attention into the mind and into the spaces above and around us. Many people that I work with suffer from feeling overwhelmed and ungrounded and like they don't have a stable foundation. So Joshin Kokyoho and the first symbol and mantra pair are designed to work together to help focus our mind in our low belly, on our physical body, and on the element of the earth, for the purpose of cultivating that sensation of being well grounded, well rooted, firmly supported. Without that feeling of firm support, we can't feel safe. We can't feel that we can expand our mind, our consciousness, our experience, our possibilities without getting out of balance. And we find it difficult to focus on anything else that is important if we can't feel our feet on the ground. So the first symbol and mantra, they work together as a team to help us focus our mind in our low belly, to help us focus our mind on the body and on the earth. What we'll see is that the three mantra symbol pairs align with the three energy centers that form the map that we use in the system of Reiki. The first one being in the low belly, connected to earth. So the symbols and mantras are for us. They are designed to help us focus in the moment. Oftentimes, the way that the symbols and mantras are taught in Western Reiki is that their intention is to be used on a person that we're doing a hands-on healing session for. And so oftentimes the first symbol and mantra is seen as the power symbol, as one that kind of opens up the flow of Reiki and helps to direct it to that other person. This is a misunderstanding of the energy of focusing that first symbol carries. That energy of focusing our attention on our physical body and on the earth, and ultimately on our inherent divine nature that comes from our connection to the earth. In fact, the translation of the first mantra translates as go to spirit, or go directly to the divine place inside of us. Direct spirit, straight spirit. And it's directing our attention in and down into our belly where we're connected to the earth. It is designed for us, the practitioner, to focus our mind. Now, that doesn't have nothing to do with how we're working with another person in a Reiki session, because the way that we show up when we are doing the hands-on healing portion of Reiki with another person, it absolutely matters what our mindset is, where we are focusing our attention, whether or not we feel grounded and stable. And so if we are feeling distracted, or we're feeling uncertain or anxious or overwhelmed or off balance, in any way, and we're wanting to do a Reiki session with another person, then Chokure, the first mantra, and the first symbol are powerful allies and friends for us to bring our attention in and down, to move down into our low belly, to feel that sensation of firm support, to feel connected to our body, to feel connected to the earth, and then to radiate that sense of calm, grounded peacefulness with the person that we're working with. So I hope you can see that connection. That Reiki is from the inside out. It's not something that we're projecting onto somebody else. It's something that we are generating from within, and then that gets radiated from us outward in all directions. We see this in the Joshin Kokyoho practice, where we envision a light at the center of that low belly. It radiates out in all directions to fill us and to surround us, and then to move out into the spaces and people around us. The symbols and mantras help us to focus on that process. So the first symbol and mantra associated with the first diamond in the belly, the second symbol and mantra associated with the second diamond in the mind, in the head. This is the spacious place, the wide open space of possibility, the place connected to the above realms, the universe, heaven, space, the air. We go there after we have built that firm, strong foundation. And the second symbol and mantra help us to focus our attention in that place. There's all kinds of different ways in which that impacts how we feel, how we show up, that have to do with that sense of wide open spaciousness. Again, only after we have built that firm foundation. We work through this map in a very specific directional sense that builds one on top of the other. So the second symbol and mantra associated with the second diamond in the head, the sensation of spaciousness, of space, of the universe, of heavens, the wide open places. Again, as a focusing tool for us, the practitioner, whether we are in our self-practice or working with another person. The third symbol and mantra associates with the third diamond, which is in the heart, this balanced place between the first two. This is the territory of compassion, of connection. And the third symbol and mantra brings our attention, helps to focus our mind in that space of connection and compassion. After we have built the firm foundation and we have created a sense of wide open, spacious possibility. After those two things have been achieved, we can bring our attention here into the heart. If we're working with another person, again, this is from the inside out. So we're bringing that third symbol and mantra into our own consciousness. We're using it to focus in our heart. That can increase our sense of connection with this other person that we're working with, our sense of compassion for them as a person and what they're going through, what they're experiencing, why they have come to us perhaps for a session. It's a focusing tool for us. It's not something that we're prescribing or administering to that other person. Drawing the symbol over that other person's body, I'm just going to say it, doesn't do anything for them. It doesn't. Saying the mantra doesn't do anything for them if we are not ourselves focusing on it. It is for us. It is to generate a shift, a change inside of our own consciousness, which causes shifts and changes in our own physiology that help us to feel more grounded, more spacious, and then more connected. Because that is the map that we're following in the system of Reiki. Firm foundation, wide open possibility, deep and abiding sense of compassionate connection. This is where we're ending up here. But we have to walk that journey in the correct order in order to get here and really truly be able to lean into interconnection, because it's a challenging place to be if we haven't built the road first. Okay, friends, that is just a whirlwind tour through the symbols and mantras, their purpose in the system of Reiki. In our next video, we will talk about the hands-on healing aspect of the system of Reiki, the fourth element, the one that is most commonly associated with Reiki in the Western forms. And we'll talk about how it relates to the others. So you can look for that in, I don't know, a week or so. If you subscribe to the channel, hit your notifications, you will get notified when I post that. So please do that. That also helps out the channel, as probably most every other YouTuber tells you. So as you navigate learning more about the system of Reiki and how it might apply in your life, may you be deeply provisioned for that journey. And until next time, I love you. Goodbye.